Today, we're counting down 5 Seattle area neighborhoods and nearby suburbs where Puget Sound views become the main event, from city bluffs to ferry-side waterfronts. One of these choices might feel almost too obvious at first, but the #1 reveal still caught us off guard. For this countdown, we're staying in the greater Seattle area, so that means Seattle neighborhoods, along with close-in communities across Puget Sound and up the shoreline. The focus is not just whether you can glimpse water from one lucky corner. It's about places where the sound shapes the experience of the area. We're looking at bluff outlooks, beach walks, ferry approaches, Olympic mountain backdrops, passing marine traffic, and those west-facing viewpoints that turn a regular evening into a sunset stop. Seattle has a lot of water in the picture, but Puget Sound views have their own feel. Ferries sliding through the channel, islands sitting on the horizon, and the Olympics rising beyond the water when the weather clears. Coming in at #5, West Seattle. West Seattle is a broad area west of the Duwamish River, covering multiple neighborhoods and shoreline zones, so its view profile changes depending on where you are. Around Alki, Admiral, and the Fauntleroy-facing viewpoints, the elevation and shoreline create very different Puget Sound perspectives, from beach-level water views to higher bluff outlooks. What makes West Seattle stand out is that variety. One part feels connected to the ferry routes and open water, while another gives you that sweeping look toward the Sound, the islands, and the Olympic backdrop. West Seattle earns its place because it is not a single viewpoint moment. It is more like a collection of Puget Sound viewing angles spread across the western side of the city. Alki gets a lot of attention, and for good reason, but the Admiral area and Fauntleroy-facing side add another layer to the experience. You can be looking across the water, from a residential street, from a shoreline walk, or from a higher overlook where the horizon opens up. That mix is why West Seattle starts the countdown, even before we get to one very specific point later on. At #4, Edmonds. Edmonds sits in southwest Snohomish County, facing Puget Sound with the Olympic Mountains to the west, and that geography does a lot of the work. The waterfront and ferry terminal area give it a direct connection to the Sound, with open views toward Whidbey Island and the Olympics beyond. Unlike some viewpoints, where the water is a distant backdrop, Edmonds puts the ferry, shoreline, and horizon right in front of you, especially around the walkable waterfront zone. What gives Edmonds its ranking is the way the Sound feels woven into the center of the community. The ferry terminal is not just transportation. It adds movement to the view, with boats coming and going across the water. The Olympic Mountains can turn the western skyline into a dramatic wall on clear days, and Whidbey Island gives the view a layered look, instead of just open water. For a suburb north of Seattle, Edmonds offers one of the cleaner, more direct Puget Sound waterfront experiences in the region. Now we're crossing the water for #3, Bainbridge Island. Bainbridge Island is both a city and an island in Kitsap County, located right in Puget Sound, and that setting gives it a very different kind of view experience. Here, the ferry is central to the story, because the trip itself frames the water, skyline, islands, and marine traffic before you even arrive. From shoreline and hillside viewpoints, Bainbridge can look back toward Seattle, out toward the Olympics, and across the Sound as ferries and other boats move through the scene. Bainbridge ranks this high because it offers Puget Sound views from both sides of the relationship, looking toward Seattle and looking outward across the region's broader water landscape. The island setting creates more separation from the city, so the water feels wider, quieter, and more panoramic. Hillside areas add elevation, while shoreline spots bring the view down to eye level with the ferry lanes. It is one of the strongest choices when the goal is not just seeing Puget Sound, but feeling surrounded by it. Before the top 2, it's worth pointing out how different these places are from one another. West Seattle gives you variety inside the city. Edmonds gives you a classic North End waterfront with ferry energy and mountain views. Bainbridge adds the island perspective, where Puget Sound is not off to one side, it is the setting itself. But the next 2 are where the Seattle side of the Sound really starts to dominate, especially when bluffs, headlands, beaches, and west-facing exposures come together. At #2, Magnolia. Magnolia is located northwest of downtown Seattle and occupies a hilly headland overlooking Puget Sound, which is exactly the kind of geography that view seekers notice fast. Its west-facing bluffs and Discovery Park viewpoints create wide panoramas, with ships, islands, and the Olympic Mountains all playing a role in the scene. Because the neighborhood sits on elevated terrain, the sound can feel expansive here, stretching beyond the immediate shoreline into a much broader regional view. Magnolia lands at number 2 because its viewpoints are some of the most dramatic inside Seattle without leaving the city. Discovery Park is a major part of that, offering open spaces where the water, sky, and mountains can all line up in one frame. The headland position matters too. Magnolia pushes out toward the sound, so the views are not tucked behind the urban grid. From the bluffs, the working waterfront side of Seattle and the natural Puget Sound horizon can both feel close at once. There's also a slower rhythm to Magnolia's view experience compared with denser parts of the city. The streets curve with the terrain, and the elevation changes make the water appear, disappear, and then open up again. That gives the neighborhood a sense of reveal, where the sound is not always visible from every block, but when it arrives, it can be huge. With Discovery Park anchoring the western edge, Magnolia is one of Seattle's strongest combinations of bluff, parkland, ship traffic, island views, and Olympic mountain backdrop. And now, number 1, Alki Point. Alki Point is in western Seattle, and it delivers the most front-row Puget Sound experience in the countdown. From the beach, promenade, and surrounding residential streets, the views can include the Sound, the Olympic Mountains, ferries, and sunsets, all in the same visual sweep. What separates Alki Point from broader West Seattle is the immediacy. You are not just looking toward Puget Sound from a distance, you are right at the edge of it. This is where the earlier surprise pays off, because West Seattle already appeared at number 5, yet Alki Point still earns its own number 1 spot. It is specific enough, iconic enough, and view-heavy enough to stand apart from the larger West Seattle area around it. The beach and promenade create a long, open viewing corridor, while the point itself gives the shoreline a front-facing relationship with the water. Ferries add movement, the Olympics add scale, and the sunsets give the whole place a distinct Western Seattle signature. Alki Point also has the kind of view that works in different conditions. On a bright evening, the water can pick up the sunset colors and push them across the beach. On a cooler gray day, the ferries and mountain silhouettes can make the scene feel more atmospheric. And because the promenade and beach put people directly beside the water, the Puget Sound view is not hidden behind a lookout platform or a single scenic pullout. It is part of the everyday shoreline experience. That is why Alki Point takes the top spot. So, to recap, number 5 is West Seattle, with its broad mix of bluff and shoreline outlooks. Number 4 is Edmonds, with its ferry-side waterfront and views toward the Olympics and Whidbey Island. Number 3 is Bainbridge Island, bringing the island and ferry perspective. Number 2 is Magnolia, with its west-facing bluffs and Discovery Park panoramas. And number 1 is Alki Point, for that front-row beach, ferry, sunset, and Puget Sound experience. The greater Seattle area has no shortage of water views, but these 5 show how different the sound can feel depending on elevation, shoreline shape, ferry movement, and mountain backdrop. And yes, that number 1 really did surprise us in the way it separated itself from the larger West Seattle picture. What did we miss? Which neighborhood, viewpoint, beach, ferry landing, or tucked-away overlook would have made your personal top 5? If you would have ranked one of these higher, or you think we're sleeping on a Puget Sound view spot somewhere around Seattle, drop it in the comments. If this helped you see the region a little differently, give the video a like and subscribe for more Seattle neighborhood deep dives. And tell us what you want next. Another view-focused countdown? A specific neighborhood breakdown? Or a completely different Seattle area topic?